What is up, guys? I'm actually, one second. I'm going to start my timer. It's going to be 20 minutes, and I'm going to read through this book and see what I can pull from it, because I really just want to show you that it doesn't take a lot of effort to get an idea that can really change your entire life around. And this book right here, Where Good Ideas Come From, by Steven Johnson. It's about a $10 book, and I mean, if you think about it, it's really not that expensive to change your life. I think investing in yourself is the best thing you can do with your own money. And what else are you gonna spend $10 on? You might spend it on a meal at fast food or whatever. You might spend it on gas or candy, whatever you want to spend on. $10. This book right here could make you $10,000. I'm sure if it's gonna make someone $10,000 if it's implemented the right way. So yeah, I'm gonna get to reading it. I got 20 minutes on the timer. So here we go, and we're off. See you on the other side, guys. All right, so I only actually made it 15 minutes because I got overwhelmed with what I was getting, man. Wow. So yeah, after reading for 15 minutes, I'm overwhelmed by what I have, and I didn't want to keep going further because then I might forget what I had just read by kind of pushing too much. Sometimes if you find a section that you really like, you should buckle down and try to absorb as much as you can. So I probably read like 40 pages in that 15 minutes, which is pretty good, but I can go faster. It just depends on the section, honestly. Like the other day when I was reading the first half of this, I read about 100 pages in 30 minutes, which is pretty damn good, but a lot of it was filler information. A lot of things you'll find with books is that it's not all gold. You got to kind of find it. Like, they need to be able to sell this, so they can't sell 50 pages. So this book, to give an overall summary, it's Where Good Ideas Come From, and I haven't finished it yet. Okay. But I just want to get you what I've already taken from this, because I really am trying to push how much you can get from just reading 15 minutes a day if you know what you're doing. So it's talking about ideas, and not just any idea, but ideas that are big, that are game changers, ideas like the iPhone. The iPhone was probably one of the best ideas, if not the best of all time, because it kind of embodied multiple trends that were going on at one time. And it's something that literally every single person has now. In a book, Bold, that I've been reading, it talks about if you want to be a billionaire, impact 1 billion people's lives, and you'll be a billionaire. iPhone does that way, even further than 1 billion people. So, sorry, back to this book. I'm going to get sidetracked a lot because there's so many ideas that this has. So what I just got done reading was an idea of serendipity, which is kind of a newer word to me. It explained what it was pretty well. And serendipity is happy accidents. And what it has to say about it is that we have ideas in our brains, and usually these ideas are just hunches, and they're kind of set back, and our brain has the capacity for literally basically infinite ideas. For an example, like, it blows my mind when I think about how we can recognize places, or like recognize how to get places. Just all these things our brain already has wired in. It just amazes me sometimes. If like you've been somewhere 10 years ago, but it's still familiar, and you like still recognize it weirdly. It's insane that our brain can hold on to that information for so long. Something that might seem almost useless at the time, but we still remember these things. But serendipity is about making these weird connections, these awkward connections in your brain that are unlikely, right? They're accidents. They're not supposed to really cross over. And a lot of these famous things, the guy who, I forget what his name was. It referenced it. I guess the name doesn't matter too much, but it's the guy who decided to rearrange the periodic table by atomic weight. And he came up with that idea in a dream, right? He woke up from his dream, and he immediately wrote down this idea that he had. And the thinking is that when we dream, we form unlikely connections. Freud always said that we dreamt on we dreamt on topics that we wanted to be real, right? Our fantasies. But this book talks about that our brain is kind of exploring new connections, exploring new ways to think rather than the ways we have thought, if that makes any sense. And time again, it provides a ton of examples for people waking up from dreams and running new experiments and finding new things, coming up with new ideas just from this weird combination of accidental connections in the brain, serendipity. And the book also talks about how you kind of have to baby these hunches or these ideas. It's almost like an egg. It's almost like a mother bird laying an egg, right? If she lays an egg in a place that's too hot, it's never going to hatch. Same thing with if it's too cold. It has to be just right, and she has to give it the right amount of care. She has to make sure it can't get eaten by predators. The same thing with an idea, right? We already have, a lot of us already have these ideas that can be game changers. But they get lost in the mess, in the billions of ideas we have in our brains and all the directions and all the faces we can recognize, right? It gets lost. So how can you baby that idea? How can you take care of it so that it turns into something? You have to create the right environment. This is why I think think tanks are such a big deal. Like, if you have the right environment, this book even talks about people. Just being around certain people can change the way your brain fires, and it can induce serendipity just by being around people with different ideas and being in conversation with them. The presence of other people changes the way your brain makes connections. I think that's amazing. That blows my mind. It really wants to make me get a think tank going. I got a little off topic there, but you have to baby your idea. Reading is the foolproof way to baby that idea, because you want to make these connections that no one else has. So you need to be putting in new ideas into your brain. Don't be afraid to go read a biology book, or it doesn't have to be a textbook, but a book written by a famous biologist or a chemist. Like, make these connections. Say you're in business like I am. I need to make connections through things, maybe in agriculture, maybe things in sports science. I have to be putting all these things into my head because you never know what connection is going to be made. The book talks about the problem of, people taking 2 weeks to read a book. And when I'm reading it, I'm just like, yeah, I'm reading it and I'm just like, this is so true. This is kind of my plan to help people out with this, because people want to read a book, right? Reading books is the foolproof way to cultivate new ideas and to grow your hunch, to make your idea into reality, and to get that realization, to get that neural connection, right? If you can just keep force feeding all these things into your brain, ideas on economics, ideas on genetics, ideas on business, ideas on psychology, you want a cauldron, if you will, a mixing pot, right? And you want the right connection, so maybe 3 of those things can make one beast idea. But people are too afraid that they're like, oh, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough energy to sit down and read. It takes me 2 weeks to read a book. I can't, I don't have time for that. So this really makes me want to push this idea of the speed reading and getting your idea, right? Speed reading and getting your idea out there, because that's the best way to do it. And I lost my train of thought there. So it says that in the past 2 centuries, we've been kind of putting blockades up instead of encouraging serendipity, which is accidents, making a mixing pot, if you will, a cauldron of ideas. Instead of making that, we've been putting these barriers up for profit, for money, which is the killer. And it says that these names go by patents, digital rights management, intellectual property, trade secrets, proprietary technology, but they share a founding assumption. that in the long run, innovation will increase if you put restrictions on the spread of new ideas, because those restrictions will allow creators to collect large financial rewards from their inventions, and those rewards will attract other innovators to follow their path. This could be a big problem. We're not encouraging creativity enough. I think anyone would agree with that. You know, some of the first things school systems cut are the arts programs and music. We don't think that they're needed. And I don't want to go on a rant about the education system and how I feel about it, but I think this could be a big thing. You know, we really want to push innovation, but I think maybe we're going about it in the wrong way. Maybe I think Steve Johnson, I'm not going to take credit for this, Steve Johnson thinks that we should be going about it in a different way. We should be encouraging these these ideas to cross over and to create something new. I think that's the only way to innovate. Thanks for your time, guys. Like I said, I'm going to try to start doing these book reviews more often. Not reviews, but summaries. I want to just show you how much you can honestly get from such a short amount of time. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be doing some more nitpicking at this book. But I'm glad you guys stuck around. Instead of doing the summary, I said I'm really trying to stick to this video thing. I think it's a little bit better, a little bit quicker. You can sit down, while you're driving, maybe put it on YouTube, whatever you got to do. But this is a good way to get this information in. It's kind of allows me to reflect on it as well. So thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you guys will watch the next one that I get into, and yeah, catch you soon.